Yes, Lieutenant Eryka Gonzalez, Eryka Gonzalez, over Public Information Office. On Thursday, September 19th, officers were dispatched at about 7 o'clock p.m. to the 1400 block of Airline Road in reference to a suspicious person. So the call was that there was a male that was looking into vehicles that appeared to be going into the beds of the trucks of those vehicles. And so when the officer got to that location, he made contact with the RP, which is the reporting party of that call. And that's when the reporting party pointed out the subject that they observed looking into vehicles and going into truck beds. And that's when the officer attempted to contact the male subject. No, so like I said, the officer arrived over there. It was a one-man unit. The officer got there, he made contact with the suspect, and the male decided that he didn't want to cooperate with officers. And that's when the officer began a struggle with that male. When the officer attempted to contact him, the male saw that he was a police officer, and when the officer told him to stop, he turned away, didn't want to make contact with that officer, so the officer went over there. So at first he verbally, didn't comply with officers, and then it became physical. I know that the person evaded. I don't know how far he evaded. So I know that the person did try to get away from the officer. He pulled away, and he also walked away or ran away. I'm not exactly sure if it was run or walk, but he did attempt to leave from that officer. I'm not sure if the officer called for backup or the backup was already on their way, but I know that a two-man unit was then arrived at that location. And at that point, the two-man unit sees the one-man officer in a struggle with this individual. Again, because the person was not complying, he was verbally not complying with officers, and then also physically resisted officers. To place his hands behind his back and just comply with their orders to stop resisting, because he was physically resisting, and then he was also not giving his hands up. I'm not sure. I haven't been able to watch the video, but I know that all that is being taken place, right now. Policies being looked at, videos being looked at, just to make sure that officers did everything correctly. So I know that that's being looked at right now. He continued to resist. Again, like I said, he resisted with the one-man officer. The two-man unit gets there, and they're attempting to get this subject to comply with verbal commands and then also with the physical commands, because he just would not stop. Okay. He wouldn't stop resisting, and he wouldn't comply. There's a variety of different what we call compliance techniques that officers are trained in, and they learn in the academy. So we would call that a compliance strike. So again, there's a variety, of what we would call compliance strikes. And again, we're looking at the video. When I say we, Corpus Christi Police Department's looking at the video, making sure that everything that the officers did is within policy and within their training. Officers had every legal right to be there, right? So we didn't just show up on a scene and say, hey, you know what, you look like somebody we want to go out on. Again, officers got a call for a suspicious subject. Officers made contact first with the reporting party that called in that call. And the reporting party then stated, that is the subject that I saw getting into truck beds. That is the subject that I observed, looking into vehicles. So absolutely, officers had every legal right to be there. So yeah. Right. But I can tell you that officers had every right to contact him. And at that point, they are investigating because they're trying to see if a crime has been committed. We know for a fact that the male, breached truck beds. So, I mean, that in itself can be burglary. Was anything taken? That's what the officer is trying to investigate. And I can tell you that the person, they did find a knife on this male. So when you see it when you see the video, I was able to see the video that you guys saw. When you see the video, you see the male on the ground, and it appears he's reaching for something. At that point, officers don't know what he has. It's for their safety as well. And so the subject did end up having a knife right within his reach where they observed him reaching. I can't speak for the officers that are there. I can't speak for how they felt in that moment. If they felt that they were able to take care of it without a taser, I can't speak for that. But there is a use of force continuum. It starts with verbal, then it starts with then you'll go up to the non-lethal and the lethal, things like that. But I can't speak for the officers that are there at that time, whether they felt they needed to go to the taser or they just felt that they could take care of it through physical means. Yeah, so it would start, first of all, it would be your command presence. And then it would be verbal. Let me speak to you and use your words. And then it would go to, basic physical hands-on techniques. And then you would do the non-lethal, which would be things like the taser, the AFS, the 40 millimeter, and then you're going up to lethal force. I understand that as a human being, but I would just say for the public to, just be patient. Not only be patient, but just understand that we're not out there just, trying to use force on people. I don't really know how to answer that question, but I guess I see it differently because I am a police officer, so I have a different view, but I understand how the public can see something like that and say, oh, that's excessive. But there's body camera out there. There's video of citizens that are out there, and yeah.
Now, did all of the police officers have body cam?
As far as I know, they did. Yes. So with our department, if all of our patrol officers every single day get a fully charged body camera. So that is something that is across the board in our patrol.
Continue.
No, as of right now, I mean the officers are still on their shifts, and I can tell you that the department, like I said, we're reviewing body camera, we're reviewing policy, we're reviewing everything that took place, and just making sure that we did everything correctly. I'm not sure if there was a supervisor on scene, but whenever a use of force, happens, I know that a supervisor is notified. Whether the supervisor went out to the scene, I'm not exactly sure. It was called in for a suspicious person, correct?
Okay.
And the person pointed him out specifically. He was booked for evading, because like I said, he tried to get away from those officers when officers tried to contact him, and then he was also booked for resisting. He was charged with resisting. We don't go into a call, looking at race or anything like that. Officers went to a call, a subject was pointed out, and that's who they contacted. So race has absolutely nothing to do with this. 1400 block of Airline, which is Airline and SPID, which is Sprouts, that kind of,
Sprout
yes.
areas?
Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if he's bonded out. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
We're always here for the best interests of the people. We always appreciate the community support, and we live in a great city that gives us that, and sometimes incidents like this happen where people are quick to judge or quick to rush to judgment. But like you said yourself, they don't know the beginning or the end. They just kind of see 6 to 15 seconds of something, and they've made up their mind or their judgment. So,
When did you guys first become aware of this video? Was a complaint filed, or was just something you just saw on social media?
it was something when you guys brought it to our attention. It was the very first time we saw it.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome.